At such time, all interested parties will be given an opportunity to be heard. Application number 498-23, Michelle Chillo. Permission to leave above-ground pool having side yard of 11.1 feet instead of required 18 feet. Awning having side yard of 16.3 feet instead of required 18 feet. Shed having side yard of 3.7 feet instead of required 4 feet. And 2 patios having side yards of 1.4 feet and 0.7 feet instead of required 4 feet each. Residence AA District, 278 Cluster, north side of Norman Drive, 315 feet west of Aft Court, Bohemia.
Good evening. Good evening, members of the board. Salvatore Koshia, permit to Russ, 338 Jericho Turnpike, Syosset, New York, 11791. Good evening. I'm here on behalf of Mrs. Chichillo, who wishes to maintain above-ground pool, shed, awning, and patios. As stated, the above-ground pool has a side yard setback of 11.1 feet, where the required is 18 feet. The awning has a side yard setback of 16.3 feet, where the required is 18. The shed has 3.7 feet on the side yard, where the required is 4, and the patios have a side yard of 1.4 and 0.7 feet, where the required is 4 feet. The Chichillo's father passed away, and they inherited the property. The awning predates the father when he purchased the home in 1984. The pool was installed by Mr. Chichillo in 1986, and Mrs. Chichillo had the patios installed unaware that they required anything, and was uninformed at the time by the contractor. And the shed was purchased in 2014 by Home Depot, and they were not aware that it was put 0.3 too close to the side yard setback. They're in the process of selling their home, and they would respectfully request your approval to maintain all these items.
It's pretty straightforward. Oh, yes, yeah. All right, is there any questions from the board on this? Planning, do you have any comments? No, anybody in the audience like to be heard on this application? No? All right, I'll take a motion then.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we grant the application for the life of the pool.
All in favor? Aye. All right, so the application's been granted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
Application number 499-23, James and Dana Hertz. Permission to install in-ground pool leaving side yard of 10.4 feet and rear yard of 12.5 feet instead of required 14 feet each, and to leave 2 patios having rear yard of 3 feet instead of required 4 feet each. Residence A District, southeast corner of Alexander Drive and Fawn Drive, East Islip.
Good evening. My name's James Hers, and this is my wife, Dana Hers. We reside at 27 Alexander Drive in East Islip, and we are asking for an application to be granted for an in-ground pool with an offset on the northeast side of 10 feet 4 inches and in the rear of 12 feet 5 inches as opposed to the required 14 feet. If you notice, we have an irregular shaped lot with a lot of brick patio around. It's a corner lot. There are PSE&G lines in the back in order to do the front yard offset, which is required, I think, 50 feet. We would, plus 4, we would have to put the pool towards the back rear. So we would need a decrease of that 14-foot offset to 12.5. And right, and the left northeast side, the lot fence line goes in towards the property. So we'd ask for a 10-foot 4-inch offset as opposed to the required 14.
So the record is clear. I'm looking at the survey, and I'm looking at the northwest side of the pool, and that's the closest to 10.4 because you have an irregular shaped property.
Correct.
The rest of the pool is in code. It's just that one section there.
Understood.
Any other questions from the board? No planning, you have any comments? No, is there anyone else that would like to be heard on this application? I'll take a motion on it.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion, we grant the application.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, application is granted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night. Appreciate it.
Application 500-23, Eric and Ariane Bonilla. Permission to install in-ground pool leaving rear yard of 15 feet instead of required 18 feet.
Yeah.
Residence AA District, east side of North Cardinal Court, 81.34 feet north of Prospect Place, Bayshore.
Hi, good evening. My name is Michelle DeBrito with Goodwill Expediting, PO Box 6, Blue Point, New York, 11715. I would just like to clarify, I believe the variance requested is 14 feet instead, not 15. Just want to make that note. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Michelle DeBrito. I'm here today representing Mr. and Mrs. Bonilla, owners of the property located at 9 North Cardinal Court in Bay Shore. They're seeking your approval for a variance according to the Town of Islip Building Zoning Ordinance to place an in-ground pool in their backyard where 18 feet setback to the rear property line is required. They are seeking your approval to allow for a 14-foot setback. Due to the layout of the home, in order to fit the pool in the desired location for the property, they cannot meet the required setbacks to the rear yard. Without the ability to place the pool in this specific location, the Bonilla family would face considerable restrictions enhancing their property. This isn't a hardship they brought on themselves, but rather one that results from the inherent constraints of their parcel and the existing structures. The Bonillas are,
When you say it's not a hardship, they brought it on their own. How can it not be? They're the ones who want to put it there in the non-conforming.
well, I just think because of the bump out where the house is, it's just pushing them back to the rear yard a little further than the 18 feet required.
It's self-imposed. If they had the required property and then it was condemned, or if there was a landslide and they lost it, that
Okay.
would be not how could this not be, there's nothing more,
Well, they,
hang on, there's nothing more self-imposing is than when, and I'm not saying it's fatal to your application. When someone tells me it's not self-imposed, how much more self-imposed can it be?
understood.
When you elect to build it in a non-conforming use
Okay.
area. Yes?
Yep.
Okay.
The Bonillas are committed to ensuring the proposed pool blends seamlessly with the surrounding area, thereby preserving the existing character of the neighborhood. The variance requested is a minimum necessary adjustment required given the layout. It is a practical solution and would make the proposed pool project possible without causing any disruption to the overall neighborhood. On behalf of the Bonilla family and myself, we appreciate your time and consideration. Is the requesting 14 feet. The survey we had submitted has 14. Would you like me to? Yes. We updated it when the pool company gave us the updated drawings. Oh. Okay, we would request the 14. Okay. Sure, I appreciate that.
All right, so first issue is to amend the call to 14, rear yard of 14 feet instead of required 15.
No,
I'll
18.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So that's amended.
Could we also conclusively establish which survey we're using?
This is the one that we use,
Okay, we're using
the one you don't have.
the one I don't have. Okay.
If you want to take a look. Just adjust the two side yards, 69, from 70 to 69, and then 15 to 14.
Okay.
All right, any other questions from the board? Planning, you have any comments? Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? So I'll take a motion now. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The amended application is granted.
I have the next two as well.
Application number 501-23, Joseph Bernardo and Joey Chianci. Permission to leave in-ground pool having side yard of 9.4 feet instead of required 10 feet, and driveway and patio on side property lines not having a required setback of 4 feet. Residence B District, west side of Smith Avenue, 196 feet north of Maple Street, Islip.
Yeah, I got it. Thanks.
Could you do me a favor also, just?
Slow down. I got it. Sorry.
Never mind.
What's that?
Do you teach speed reading or something?
I don't. Just a little nervous.
Take
do you
a
think we
deep
feel?
breath.
How do you think we feel?
What's that?
Kidding.
Thanks. Michelle DeBrita, Goodwill Expediting. Do you need the address again for the record?
No.
PO Box 6, Blue Point, New York 11715. You're welcome. I'm here on behalf of the Cianci family, the property owners of 196 Smith Avenue in Islip. They're seeking a variance for an existing in-ground pool in their backyard for a setback of 9.4 feet where 10 was required. This was actually of no fault of their own. When the pool company came in to build the pool, they went too close to the property line. When they went to get a final survey for their building permits, the final survey came back that the corner of the pool was at 9.4 instead of the 10 required. And originally, that was their plan. In addition to that, they are seeking a variance for the existing side patio and driveway, both of which have been existing since 2004 based on historical aerials of the property. The general characteristics of the neighborhood, a lot of the properties in that surrounding area have a similar characteristic of the driveway and up against the side of the property. And removing or relocating these features would negatively financially impact the Ciancis. They are committed to adhering to the spirit and zoning laws, maintaining a respectful relationship with the community. However, given the circumstances and benefits of keeping the driveway, patio, and pool, we respectfully request a variance for all of these items.
Thanks. Any questions? Planning, you have any comment? I'm sorry, planning, you have any comments? Okay, is there anyone else that would like to be heard on this application? All right, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application, Mr. Chairman.
A second. All in favor? Aye. All right, application is granted.
Application number 502-23, Stephen and Jennifer Mercarella. Permission to install in-ground pool leaving side and rear yards of 14 feet instead of required 18 feet each. Residence AA District, 278 Cluster, east side of Buenos Drive, 186.12 feet north of Belinda Court, Sayville.
Michelle DeBrita, Goodwill Expediting, PO Box 6, Blue Point, New York 11715. Good evening. I'm here representing Mr. and Mrs. Mercola, owners of property located at 56 Budanos Drive in Sayville, who are seeking a variance to place an in-ground pool in their backyard, having a side and rear yard setbacks of 14 feet instead of the required 18. While the proposal pool location does not meet the standard setbacks, it provides the best use of the Mercorella's property. The pool will be an attractive and valuable addition to the property. It will be the focal point for outdoor entertainment and leisure, increasing the overall appeal and value to the home. The proposed setback variance for the Mercorella's residential pool is essential to provide a safe and enjoyable recreational space for their family.
Just slow down a little.
Slow down more. The proposed pool location is in harmony with the neighboring properties and adheres to the overall character of the community. Placing a pool in this position will not disrupt the visual continuity of the neighborhood. Upon doing some research, it appears that several properties within the immediate surrounding area have pools with similar setbacks.
Do you have the grants for those?
I do not have the grants. I have the addresses of those properties. I do not.
If it's not a grant, it doesn't matter. If it's there illegally, it doesn't count.
No, I don't, but
Let me
we
ask you a
did.
question.
Sure.
Why can't we have a rule that's been set by our prior chairman. If you can comply, you shall. So why can't the pool, and we like to have one side comply unless there's some earth-shaking reason. Why can't the pool be moved several feet to the north? It can be. I know they don't want to do it, but it can be.
If that's your recommendation for approval, then that's,
I think if they move it 4 feet to the north and therefore the southern line complies, I don't think their other board members will have an issue with it. But they speak for themselves.
okay. What's that? No? Oh, do you want to speak on, for yourself as well?
Is it a cluster? Oh, it's up, say, you would just say by Mary Pizarro, it's a cluster.
Zone.
Yes, it's a cluster zone. As such, we would grant this application. You don't have to move it
There you go.
because it's a cluster
Zone.
zone.
Okay, are there any other comments from the board? Planning, do you have any comments?
No objection.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard on this application? No? All right, I'll take a
I'll
motion
make a
then.
motion to grant the application. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
It's a George.
Application number 503-23, Giovanni and Celia Maria Granda. Permission to leave pool deck having side yard of 2.4 feet instead of required 6 feet, walls on side property lines not having required setback of 4 feet, and patio on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence B District, east side of Higby Lane, 150 feet north of Klein Street, West Islip.
If you could please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Name is Giovanni Granda. I'm the homeowner of 819 Higby Lane, West Islip.
What is the height of the wall?
So there's two levels. The first level is 4 feet, and the second level is about 2.5 feet.
Some pictures on it.
There was an existing wall. So we moved into the property roughly about 2 years. The first thing we wanted to do was build a pool. So we went ahead, we contracted Dunright, but in doing so, we found that we had to redo that wall, right? Because it was essentially made out of cinder blocks, so we had to redo it. Nothing changed on the wall itself, except that we just put in updated block. So the wall has been pre-existing since, from what my neighbors told me back when the house was originally built.
Do you have any pictures of the wall?
I do, current or prior?
Current would be preferred.
Can't be on your phone.
You're just gonna-
Can't be on your phone.
You're
Yeah,
doing
have
some-
physical pictures.
Oh, I don't have a physical picture of it.
Side yard of 3 feet, side yard of 0 feet, and rear yard of 1 feet where they had prior, I think, above ground pool and they had a pool deck around it. So you can see the fence is much higher than like where the pool exists and where the ground exists. Just showing elevation, I guess, before they put in the wall. There's steps leading up to it.
Did they dig down?
It's just, yeah, I think to put it, they leveled the backyard to put in the pool and then just kept the elevation in the back by putting in the cinder blocks like you mentioned, or wood in place of it. So it's just replacing what's previously there. Then there's no, I would have no objections to it because it looks like there would be the need for it or else. Like, so it's just gonna fall into the pool.
I would also like to add that every other property on this block has the same type of wall. The reason for that is because on Higby Lane, the houses, I guess the topography, it's shorter, it's lower there, as opposed to Babylon Road, which is higher. So the houses on this road are higher, and
Pool's that.
there's just a slope.
You looking to, or is it? lower?
That's the reason for the wall.
Because it's 2.6 instead of 4.
This is for the old grant, so I'm
Okay.
not sure.
All right.
It's just different. This is more so just showing the condition.
Right, right.
So your survey doesn't show where it goes.
He also has a wall. So there's, if you look at that survey, on the north side, that little, I guess you could say like that quarter circle, that is just a planter. That's not really part of the wall, but that is about 2 feet tall. Yep. Yes. No, they do have a cylinder wall, but it's not shown on the survey there, but it goes up a little further north. Exactly. Are you referring to the pavers or the actual wall? Ah, so that's on the north side. That is the, if you're looking at the survey, that's on the north side, the small section that is closer to the property line. Oh, no, that's flush. The masonry patio that's on that survey, that's all brick. But yes, that's flush to the ground.
Anyone else would like to comment on this application?
Thank you.
This technology. I think that's me. I think I'm being sloppy. I'm not used to having my own folder. Application number 504-23, William Graham and Alyssa Baez. Permission to leave pavilion having second front yard of 26.2 feet instead of required 27 feet, resulting in floor area ratio of 29.31% instead of permitted 25%. Residence A District, northeast corner of Sunset Drive and The Lane, Sayville.
Good evening.
Good evening, members of the board. John Bracco, architect, 111 Railroad Avenue, Sayville, New York, on behalf of the applicant, William Graham. We're here in regards to two items tonight to leave an existing pavilion. The first is a second front yard setback of 26.25 feet where 27 feet is required, so a 9-inch, which equates to a 3% relaxation of the required 27 feet. The second is for an FAR of 29.31%, where 25% is required. And I do know, being in front of this board several times in the past, they have always looked favorably on FARs less than the required, less than 30%. If the board has any questions, more than happy to answer. Sure. Yeah, what happened in this situation, the pool went in first, and they wanted the roof pavilion to be centered in the pool. So when we center it on the pool, it leaves us with only 26.25. Yeah, that's how that one happened. You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board? No. Planning, do you have any comments? No. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? No. Make the motion.
I'll make a motion to grant the application.
All in favor?
Okay, thank you.
Application number 505-23, Linda Pinto. Permission to leave two one-story additions, 14 by 16.7 and 14 by 16.2, resulting in floor area ratio of 29.6% instead of permitted 25%. Residence A District, east side of Duck Lane, 369.88 feet southeast of Cedar Point Drive, West Islip.
Good evening. John Teufel, Teufel, professional engineer, 707 Route 110, Farmingdale. I'm here tonight with Linda Pinto. owner of 27 Duck Lane in West Islip, who is seeking a floor area ratio variance to maintain a 227 square foot rear enclosed porch and 234 square foot rear one-story addition. The lot is very undersized at 8,750 square feet, where 11,250 square feet is required by ordinance. And neither the enclosed porch nor the addition extends past the side of the main house. The zone is Residence A, where 25% floor area ratio is permitted, and we are requesting 29.6%. The enclosed porch existed when the home was acquired by Ms. Pinto in 1981 and has no heat nor air conditioning. The one-story addition on the north side of the house was built in the 1980s by a contractor hired by Ms. Pinto's dad, who led her to believe that no permit was required. It's now part of an existing den area. The house and property are in very good condition, and there are many other one-story rear additions in the area. Ms. Pinto really loves the area and respectfully requests that the relief be granted. That completes our case.
Anybody on the board have any questions? Planning, any comments?
No, good.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard on this application? No? All right, then I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
All in favor? All right, application is granted.
Thank you.
Application number 506-23, Michael and Deborah Messina. Permission to install egress window leaving side yard of 8 feet instead of required 14 feet, to leave patio having side yard of 0.5 feet instead of required 4 feet, and shed having front yard of 2.7 feet instead of required 20 feet, and rear yard of 0.3 feet instead of required 2 feet. Residence B District, southwest corner of Wavecrest Avenue and Chestnut Street, West Islip.
Good evening, members of the board. Thomas Bloor, the architect for the project, 60 Carlton Avenue, Suite 202, Islip Terrace, New York, 11752. The intent of this application is to install a new egress window, as well as legalize and maintain the existing patio and shed. We're requesting a side yard setback of 8 feet instead of the required 14 feet to a proposed egress window well. The existing home has a side yard setback of 12.7, therefore this is not considered a permitted encroachment. We're also requesting a side yard setback of 0.5 feet instead of the required 4 feet to an existing patio. As far as the second front yard setback, we're requesting a second front yard setback of 2.7 instead of the required 20 to an existing plastic shed, 6.8 feet by 6.9 feet, which is 8.7 feet high. The shed is located behind a 6-foot-high vinyl fence, and we're also requesting a rear yard setback of 0.3 feet instead of the required 2 feet. If the board should have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
On the shed, which is 2.7 instead of 20. I did the math, that's about an 86% relaxation.
Yeah, I didn't think the board was going to look favorable on it. I mean, I think a shed 6 foot high can have a 4 foot setback, and it's, the least of our worries with this application. It would be movable, as well. It's just a plastic shed. It's not even on a slab, honestly. Yep.
Thanks.
So remove the shed from the application.
Or just deny it.
I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Any other questions from the board on this? No? Planning, any comments?
There's just a typo in the call meeting.
Okay.
Oh, none of
This
us
is
caught it.
380, it's 80, not 380.
Yeah, the address.
Just to make sure.
Did the notice go to the right people?
It's-
So the notice was based on the 80, not the 380.
Yeah, I just want to make sure for,
That's just fine.
Right. Do we know that? I mean, do we know that for sure, that the notice went to 80 instead of 380?
Thomas Boyes, and like it, so
The applicant's here.
I think so.
Yeah, but what about the
Hopefully,
applicant's neighbors?
yeah, right, hopefully the applicant knew it was 80 instead of 380.
Yeah, the description of the two blocks is correct on the notice.
And there's no 380. I just wanted to.
All right, that's a
clear
good
that.
start.
It was
Okay.
just must have been typed.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to be heard on this application? No? All right, take a motion from the board.
Should we amend the call for the right address, or it doesn't really matter?
Well,
I think the physical, 2 out of 3 are right. The tax map number's right, and the
Two out
physical
of three ain't
description,
bad.
and the physical description is right. It's not too uncommon to get a house number wrong.
I never do.
You're the exception to it.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we deny so much the application seeking to leave a shed 2.7 feet instead of required 20 feet and grant the remainder of the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so the
Thank
modified
you.
application is granted.
Application number 507-23, Bridget Geraci. Permission to erect 2-story addition, 2nd-story addition, and roofed-over porch, leaving side yard of 12 feet instead of required 14 feet. Residence A District, east side of Bay Shore Avenue, 600 feet south of Rockaway Street, West Islip.
Good evening, Thomas Bloor, the architect for the project, 60 Carlton Avenue, Suite 202, Islip Terrace, New York, 11752. The intent of this application is to construct a new 2nd-story addition over the existing dwelling, as well as a roofed-over porch and rear 2-story addition. We're simply requesting a side yard setback of 12 feet instead of the required 14 feet. This is an existing setback to the existing 1.5-story home. All the additions will be directly in line with the existing home. Board should have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Does anybody have any comments from the board? No? Planning, any comments?
There's precedent, you know.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard in this application? No? Okay, I'll take a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like a motion that we grant the application.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Application is granted.
Application number 508-23, Gretchen Hugh. Permission to erect 2nd-story addition, 22.4 by 35.5 irregular, and 2-story addition, 20 by 24.2 irregular, leaving front yard of 24.2 feet instead of required 25 feet, and side yard of 5.4 feet instead of required 14 feet. To reconstruct chimney, leaving side yard of 3.7 feet instead of required 14 feet, and to leave 4-foot fence in sight distance triangle exceeding permitted height of 3 feet. Residence B District, southeast corner of Pine Acres Boulevard and Huron Drive, Bay Shore.
Good evening again, Thomas Bloor, the architect for the project, 60 Carlton Avenue, Suite 202, Islip Terrace, New York, 11752. Again, the intent of this application is to construct a new 2nd-story addition over the existing dwelling. The front yard is pretty minimal. We're requesting a front yard setback of 24.2 instead of the required 25 feet. This is an existing 1.5-story Cape home, so it has an existing 2nd floor, and we're requesting a side yard setback that is existing of 5.4 instead of the required 14. The home also has an existing chimney on that side with a setback of 3.7 instead of 14, which will simply be extending up taller vertical as the 2nd floor is rebuilt. Both setbacks, again, are existing. The proposed 2nd floor is directly over this existing footprint in line with the existing residence. Lastly, we're requesting permission to leave a 4-foot high. It is a vinyl see-through picket fence, although I don't think the board typically approves these in the site triangle. It's, we would consider adjusting the fence on an angle to meet the site triangle, could remove that from the application. I did speak with Deidre about some potential precedents. I have 4 of them, but unfortunately, they're about 1,500 feet away, and I know the board's...
Triangle?
No, not the side triangle, just the side yard setback building over the existing. And there was a couple Deidre came up with, though, which was case 841-03, which had a side yard of 3 feet for, I believe, a 1-story rear addition to a home, and another one of 299-02 was 8 feet for a 2nd-story addition directly on top of the footprint. It looks like these houses were built, honestly, in 1935. I don't believe the zoning was established at that point, so these houses are kind of just a nature, I guess, of where they placed them back then. If the board should have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Mr. Bloor, just so I understand, it's existing 5.4 instead of 14.
Correct.
Say it's existing, what is existing? What's
A
existing?
1.5-story home there, so a 1st floor home, a 2nd floor to a home.
Do you have pictures? I want to know what's on the short side, 5.4.
Sure, absolutely. I believe I submitted them to the zoning board. My folder's right at the chair back there. I can go grab you some photos if you'd like.
I didn't hear what you said, something about the chair. He's sitting right here. So,
Said, yeah, I had submitted photos of that side to the zoning board. Oh, I actually have them in front of me, so I thought I left them on the chair. I said, they're probably exactly what you're looking at, though.
I'm sorry, let me
The
circle.
right side if you're looking at the front of the house.
I circled it, is that?
That's correct.
My concern, I see we have no precedent in the 500-foot radius. My concern is when it's that compromised, when it's 5.4 instead of 14, and now you want to make it worse and go up.
Oh.
That's putting the neighbors looking at a wall or blocking their sun. I mean, that's a concern I always have. I get it, it's existing at 5.4, but
I think there's a good argument that if you look at that picture, they're looking at a wall anyway.
Yeah, that side of the house is a gable end with a window into the second floor currently.
This is one of those rare cases that the second story is not going to really create much of an invasion of privacy.
I'm trying to figure, is this the applicant's?
On the-
Oh, that's the app.
Yeah.
This doesn't
Yes,
work
what's
on
the-
Doesn't
the,
work on the screen.
doesn't work
A
on the
second
screen.
story addition.
Does it
and
work
a
on Mr.
two-story
Gloria?
Yeah,
You
you're,
want to go there.
Yep, I want to go north, up on that.
How much higher would the height be over what it is now?
And it's going to be a full second floor?
yes. Correct, yes.
But it looks like is it only a small portion that's actually getting this? Like, it looks like it's only like the back.
Right,
I can't.
it'd be the front and the back, like a typical cape.
Yeah, but
You have the center section is an existing second floor, and you're expanding the front of that and the
it's
rear of
actually
it.
going to even the height out to the existing ridge.
Correct, yeah.
No.
You're raising
When
the
you
ridge,
say,
right?
hang on,
It's raising the ridge, though, but it's not asking for any height variances.
wait, when you say it's going to be the front and the back, to me, that's the whole thing. Yes?
Yes, but
Okay, when you say it's the front and the back, I don't know, what are you going to not do the middle?
the middle is existing.
So the whole length of that wall is going to go up,
The front one-story wall, yes,
and it's going to be a two-story wall.
correct. And then the triangular side wall you're looking at, you would be increasing the front of that and the rear of that.
It's going to be squared off.
Correct.
How
But
how
you're
much
not-
higher will the ridge be than it is now?
The proposed ridge is 26, where 28 is allowed.
What is
The existing ridge, I'll give you my best guesstimate on the existing drawing,
Just don't like putting them-
probably 20 feet, 22 feet,
20 what?
20 to 22 as a guesstimate,
How much is it going to be after you're done?
26.
Mr. Chairman, well, we'll get to that in a minute. Do you have a plan B? It's just to build a second when you're already almost a third of the required footage at 5.4, and then you want to go up and even make it worse. It's problematic for me.
No, so there's no logical plan B. I mean, you can start saying, hey, what if we put, one-story additions on a second front
I
yard?
understood you didn't have a plan B. I guess that was just kind of,
Yeah.
it was a tell of my thought process.
I think this is a nature of some of these homes when they were
No,
built.
It's not. There's nothing in it. There's no precedent in the 500-foot radius, so it's not.
How is that house next to the neighbor, the other house, how is that not precedent? That looks pretty close to the property line.
Well, I mean, they're pre-existing.
Right, like the only precedent we found was because it was existing 8, and then the board,
Let them talk first. Hang on.
I could check the address, but it didn't show up.
You're assuming it's there legally, that house.
Yeah.
These, most of these houses predated, right?
The map was filed in 1927. As we heard, many of the homes were built in the 30s.
That doesn't look like it was built in the 30s.
No, but until 1952, in Residence B zoning, you only needed a side yard of 4 feet.
So that may have predated the code.
I think that does say something for character and nature, but not precedent.
Well, we don't know how many homes to make it nature and character. I mean, if it's 1 in 40 homes,
Can you go one more over?
yeah, could you enlarge it?
One more house to the next one. That house looks like it has a ridge that would be the same height as this house would be after it was.
Both of them
Can you
do.
head a little bit closer to, I want to see the side yard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, can you take us up to Nissaquag? I want to see how it looks. Yeah.
That house has it looks like it has a more substantial side yard.
Yeah, it's got that, yeah, right.
I
think we reserved on this. Very reserved.
So it looks like these three are kind
Somebody
of
wants
in
to-
line very
We
close.
did hear one.
Then things kind of start spreading out a little bit.
David came and closed it because it's not good.
I think when I looked at the one behind it, it looks very similar to the one you guys are questioning too, but again, it didn't come up that it went for a ZBA.
The thing is, I get the issue of the precedent, but I don't think there's much of an impact on the neighbor.
So this precedent thing isn't working on you.
I think it's a hard thing to apply in an old neighborhood.
Have you spoken to the neighbor, or are they here?
I'm not sure. No, I have not spoken to them. I'm not sure if they're here.
Do the people who are here representing speak to the neighbor?
I'm not sure, to be honest with
Are they
you.
here?
No.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard on this application? No? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of it either.
all right. I'll take a motion then.
I'll make a motion to reserve decision. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so reserve decision on this.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Application number 509-23, Trinity Evangelical Lutheran Church of Islip. Permission to install facial sign having area of 32.16 square feet instead of permitted 12 square feet, height of 14.33 feet instead of permitted 10 feet, to leave second institutional facial sign where one is permitted, having sign area of 21 square feet instead of permitted 12 square feet, and height of 12 feet instead of permitted 10 feet. To leave ground sign having electronic LED message center where flashing, revolving, moving, sound producing, or animated signs are prohibited, and to leave second institutional ground sign where only one is permitted. Residence B District, southeast corner of Nassau Avenue and Union Boulevard, Islip.
The Reverend Michael Stanek, pastor at Trinity Lutheran Church in Islip, 111 Nassau Avenue, zip code 11751. We are looking to put that sign, that first sign, on the educational building that faces Union Boulevard. That'll tie in the two buildings, and then the other sign is at the front portion of the main entrance of the church. The electronic sign, as you see, is on the corner. And then there's another ground sign, as you can see on the drawing as well. I think they're labeled on the drawing.
Reverend, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mr. Wexler. How are you?
So the record's clear, we graduated high school together.
We know each other.
He wasn't a reverend back then, but we all thought maybe someday. So, just a quick question, sir.
Yes.
The sign, what will it announce? Just like.
It'll say Trinity Lutheran Church and Preschool.
Oh, and that's it?
That's it.
Okay. And just for the record, we all know there was a 7-Eleven across the street.
We do, yes.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah.
We could almost see it.
If you look in the fall, you can probably see it from here.
Yeah, the LED. But there's also an LED sign,
Yes, that's the one in the corner, yes.
and what will that just be like?
That's just going to be announcements like we've had there, our service times, and it is the time of day.
Nothing racy, nothing.
No, we're not going to be doing any flashy animation or anything like that, no.
Big for garishness.
I'm wearing black. I'm pretty.
Lanny, do you have any comments on this?
Our only request, is there any way to move the preschool sign just to be more in front of the school area? Just down Union Boulevard, that's the only kind of request, just so they're not two ground signs next to each other.
The only concern I would have with that, if we move it towards and closer to the preschool, is sight lines as people are coming out of the parking lot and turning onto Union Boulevard.
I don't know if you could do that here, but just like in the center somewhat of along that part. I don't think it would block anyone's because it would just be a flat sign up against that. It could just be moved. That's just So it seems like it's the sign for the school and not crowding like the front area where it's a sign for the church.
Deidre, I'm sorry, could you point out, I never picked up, where are the two proposed signs going to be?
So the one LED sign is right here.
Right, there's an existing sign there, correct?
Yes.
All right.
The school sign is right here. So we were just requesting because the school facial sign is gonna be back here for it to be around here. Just so it's at least related to what it's supposed to be showing.
There's a 7-Eleven across the street that's written 7-Eleven across the entire facade. What's the size of the sign going to be?
The one that we're looking to put up or the one that's up there
The
now?
one you're looking to put up?
It's this.
It would be 32.16 square feet instead of permitted 12 square feet, with a height of 14.33 instead of permitted 10.
There will be a side obstruction.
It's fine, we just wanted to move it, just so it's not, so you can see like, this is the sign and this is the other sign. They're just close, so we just want to move this sign down here.
Can I see that picture again? Because I think, I believe, can I just see the picture again? Move over where the sign was that you just showed, that the one you want moved? It is that sign, yes, okay. Just want to make sure I had the right sign, because that other sign's not even there anymore. That's what confused me. Right, okay.
And that sign, it's fine, it's just moving this so it's a little bit more in front of the school area. That was the only.
It doesn't offend my sensibilities, but I'm only one person on the board.
My only concern with that would be is presumably the preschool is gonna have a lot of traffic to and from. It probably served the purpose there for people coming down Nassau Boulevard. I mean, moving it may cause people to not see where the sign is. I don't know.
I never want to tell a religious institution where to put their sign.
I have to say, I kind of agree that it might be a site obstruction for the left-hand turn movement to head westbound on Union Boulevard.
Far enough away from
Yeah,
all that.
that's the exit, for the exiting left-hand turn movement to head westbound on Union Boulevard has that eastbound traffic coming right at them. And the lower part of that sign is only 2 feet off the ground.
Right, if it's somewhere just like in the center, that was only.
I don't have a problem.
Is there a specific reason that you wish to have it where you have it as opposed to somewhere else? I mean, was it just?
To be honest with you, to take that sign and move it would mean probably having to buy a new sign.
How long has the sign been there?
I'm going to say 12 years.
Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard on this application? Sorry. All right, any other questions from the board? Do you have anything else? Okay.
Thank you.
Take a
Mr.
motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Good luck.
You too.
Thanks.
Application number 510-23, Jessica Rochelle Showers. Permission to erect second-story addition, 5 by 12, leaving side yard of 13 feet instead of required 14 feet, and floor area ratio of 33.11% instead of permitted 25%. Residence B District, north side of Willow Street, 318 feet east of Foster Avenue, Sayville.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Roxanne Trella on behalf of Woodhull Expediting, agent for the applicant. We're here today requesting variances associated with erecting a 5 by 12 second-story addition. The first variance being sought is to leave the side yard of 13 feet instead of the required 14 feet. The second variance, also in connection with the second-story addition, would be for the FAR of 33.11% instead of the permitted 25%. The side yard being requested will maintain the same setbacks as the original dwelling and the first floor. It does not encroach any further into the side yard and is considered minimal relief. As far as the FAR, the property owners are proposing to erect a dormer on one side of the existing second floor. They are only increasing it by 60 square feet. The footprint of the dwelling is not changing, and again, they are maintaining the same setbacks of the original dwelling. We were able.
Oh, I'm sorry. You paused, so. go ahead. Sorry. Can't
I'm
do
getting
that
to the
around-
good stuff now. I have precedent for you.
Can't do that around me. You can't pause.
We do have some precedent within the surrounding area that did appear before the board and was given approval. We have one at 36 River Road in Sayville. They were before the board twice, both granted 36.9% FAR. However, one of the decisions did note that it included the detached garage. So based off of today's calculations, the FAR would actually be 33.24. So I did just want to note, yes, these are all within 500 feet. The second precedent we have is 55 Terry Street in Sayville. That was granted under ZBA 849-02. This was granted 33.3% FAR. We have 42 Irwin Street in Sayville, ZBA 592-05. That was granted an FAR of 32%. ZBA 285-12 granted an FAR of 32.8%. So we are at 33.11. We also have a detached garage on the property, and based off of the calculation, if the detached garage was included in that FAR, it's about 4%. So that would bring our real FAR, as the other decisions noted, to something around 29%, which would typically be granted by the board.
Peter, can you just zoom out?
So we have a precedent of 32.8, 32 even, and the first one was after it was adjusted for the detached garage is at what?
33.24, and we have another one at 33.3. So you have two at 33, a little over 33, and two at 32 and a little over 32.
Out of curiosity, how many houses are in the 500 foot radius?
I'm not sure.
You brought the precedent, but you didn't do the analysis.
How do we know what the nature and character of the neighborhood is? I'm just changing it up on you. Here you come with precedent, and now that's not enough.
You know,
Next
keep me
you
on
come
my
with
toes. It's
precedent
okay.
analysis, And we'll look for something else.
We need pictures.
Yeah, we need pictures.
I have pictures of the house. I do also have a set of the floor plans where you could see the proposed elevation if you'd like to see this small, tiny 60 square feet that's being added.
Did you prepare an affidavit of heirship?
I did not.
What about the rule against anyway?
Should we cut them?
Yeah, I'm good on it.
Any other questions from the board? No? Planning, do you have any comments? Objections? Okay, is there anyone else who would like to be heard on this application? No? Take a motion then?
Make a motion to grant the application.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Application number 511-23, Anita Diaz, permission to establish accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68-602. Residence A District, west side of Trader Lane, 305.62 feet south of Tabor Street, Brentwood.
Good evening, Anita Diaz. You hear me in this thing?
Give us your name and address, please.
I'm sorry?
Your name and address.
Anita Diaz, 18 Trader Lane, Brentwood, New York, 11717.
Good evening, Ms. Diaz. And you're here just to establish the accessory apartment?
Yes,
The apartment complies, the driveway's met engineering specifications, and the apartment is small. I think it's only 360 square feet.
correct.
You just have some inspection requirements to finish out, but they suggested that she come to the board first and get the special exception
Mhm.
before she complete the required.
Yeah, I met all the requirements except the egress, but that's because I'm waiting. I just had the HVAC done and they have to move the unit over because it's underneath where the egress window has to go.
Just minor modifications.
Everything else I did already.
Planning, do you have any comments? Anybody else from the board? have any? Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? No? All right, then I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry. I was a teacher.
Application is granted.
Thank you.
I was so enthralled with this application.
Application number 512-23, Andrew Albee. Permission to erect one-story addition, 12.8 by 32.7, leaving side yard of 8.5 feet instead of required 14 feet. Residence A District, east side of Ballard Circle, 181.61 feet south of Flute Lane, Holbrook.
Good evening, Board. My name is Andrew Albate. This is Kerry Devanian. We're 19 Ballard Circle, Holbrook, New York, 11741.
Been there forever.
Yeah. We were here earlier in the year. I know we had some issues because of the cyber attack, and you guys weren't able to look basically at the plan of the house and stuff. But at that time, you had referred or deferred the decision. But again, it was denied just because of the size. But speaking with the buildings department, they did say that if we did reduce the overall width of the garage by 1.8 feet, which will give us, I think, 12.8 feet, the garage will be 12.8, and which will give the side yard of 8.5 feet. That there is precedence in the area, and that we could reapply. So we had the plans redone. And we're here today to ask that permission if we can have that garage built. The ridge line is going to stay the same. Nothing is going to protrude either at the rear or the front. There are other houses that were built the same way. I just want our garage added on. There's numerous houses on the block like that already that came at, when they were first built.
You have any aerials there? No.
No, we like the picture.
Very sad picture, very blue.
So the buildings department asked us to reduce it down to, I think they took a 1.8 feet away, which would give us, like I said, 8.5 feet on the side yard.
Do we have any precedent for 8.5?
The precedent, there's one in 97 that had an 8-foot, another one in 01 that had 8.5, but it didn't have the provision that was supposed to be on the second story. And there's another one,
Wait, just let it finish.
there's another one with a side yard of 9.7, again, saying no second story.
What about the first one you said from 97?
That didn't go to provision, but it was 8
So-
feet.
Sounds like the building department acts like a zoning board.
I know.
Really?
We were there for, I know, well, they told us we would have to go for 4 years.
Well, that was good of them. Why didn't they just give you the right to sign his name?
They were just giving us guidelines that if we reapply, maybe with the 8.5.
We should just give him the chairman's stamp and, so we have one real precedent?
Yeah.
That was, I'm sorry.
Two.
Well, there was an 8.5 and an 8.
Well,
Okay.
I have a question about those. Those that you said that there's a provision, that there's no second story. Was that just for the addition?
Yes.
Oh.
The addition couldn't go.
The house was
up
already
to a
two
second
But the
stories.
house, okay.
House is
And-
2 stories.
What's the most recent of those? The 8 point,
2001.
okay.
But the house already held 8.5, they just went up? I didn't
No,
catch
no,
that.
it was just for the one-story addition.
So it was the same or similar
Yeah.
application?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Gigi.
And that's in the name, 500 feet.
Okay.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? No? Do you have any other questions from the board?
Nope.
You Take a motion then?
You want to do a roll call?
I'll make a motion to grant the application. I'll make,
Yeah, only 1 story.
okay. I'll grant the application with the condition that it only has 1 floor and not the second floor.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
All right, so the modified application's been approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
We don't get awesome off.
Yeah,
We had, thank you. I'll take it.
take it. Bring it home, put it on the fridge.
You're right. It's like a-
Application number 513-23. Tankut Yildirim and Funda Aksakal. Permission to leave in-ground pool having side yard of 12.6 feet and rear yard of 12.4 feet instead of required 18 feet each, and and patio around shed having side yard of 0.8 feet and rear yard of 1.3 feet instead of required 4 feet each. Residence AA District, south side of Alexander DeGuardia Boulevard, 68.33 feet west of Waverly Avenue, Holtzville.
Good evening. Thank you.
procedure? Do we have any precedent?
The only precedent in the area is a side yard. One case has a side yard of 17.5 and a rear yard of 17.4. And another case had a rear yard of 14 and a side yard of 16.
How did you come to build a pool requiring such a great variance, one that we have never granted before? Did you get a permit? No. You got a permit? Well, how did you build it so it's not compliant? It's not conforming to the code.
Are you here to close the pool permit? Is that how you wound up here? That's why they're here. So that's what brought you here, the fact that the pool permit's not
Let's
closed.
reserve on this.
And then they inspected it and they came up with this. Somebody must have inspected it to know, to find out if it was compliant or not. They just looked at the survey. No one came to the house and looked at it or measured it? Just the survey? But they wouldn't let you close the pool permit because it needed variances.
Who built this pool? You may want to contact them because they built it in a very non-compliant location. Unfortunately, it's not even close to meeting the town code. That's the problem. Yeah, if somebody built it at 17 well, you've sat here, we had 1 million pool applications today. Somebody's at 17 instead of 18, 15, 14, this is 12.
We even had someone move it, right? How about the patio? We've got no issues with the patio behind the shed?
Yeah.
The shed is okay, I believe.
The patio, the shed having 0.8 instead of rear yard home instead of 4.
Patio around shed having.
No, so that's, honestly, that's the least of your problems.
The pool's the issue.
Pool is problematic. He's a professional swimmer?
Yes.
Oh, wow. What's a professional swimmer?
I would imagine we could pay for professionals.
Ask a question.
Yeah, do you swim in college or?
No, sir, I stopped swimming.
Oh, so you were a swimmer?
Yes.
So you're not a professional anymore?
No, I still need to train in order to keep my body.
Okay, let's leave that right there.
Planning, do you have any comments on this?
It's just there's no precedent for it. The only thing that could possibly help them is that they're right at the town boundary, so their pool of precedent, lacking in that way.
Would
That's the
you,
town line right there.
would you
Okay.
look to see if, maybe down the road, if we happen to reserve, if there's any precedent? Because I see that their precedent is kind of nullified
Yeah,
because
it's all-
Brookhaven lies to the
There's
east.
nothing around, that's all commercial around it, except for that one neighborhood, right? Woods,
Yeah, and then it's
commercial the other way.
Just really the,
What street is it? What street is it?
the one up to the right of it.
Yeah.
Waverly.
Oh, it is Waverly, okay.
What school is that? What school is that to the left? You have a school right near you?
Yeah, we have a regular school.
I forgot if I asked. Is anyone else who would like to be heard on this application?
Yeah.
No? All right, we'll take the motion to reserve.
I'll make a motion to reserve this.
And I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Reserve decision. Thank you.
Application number 514-23, 22 Spence Holdings, One Stop Metro, Veolia ES Technical Solutions. Permission to leave building with canopy having front yard of 45.7 feet instead of required 50 feet, and to install 6-foot fence on front property line not having required setback of 15 feet. Industrial Transition District, south side of Spence Street, 484.52 feet west of Fifth Avenue, through lot to Wisconsin Court, Bay Shore.
Deidre, could you point out where the 6-foot fence is going to be? I didn't get to, I'm only on exhibit 3. I didn't get there yet. I like to start at the beginning, because if I read the end and I know is it a happy ending?
That's up to
Okay,
us.
good answer. That's up to us,
I
right?
think that, yeah, I think that's kind of in your hands, Bill.
Is the fence on the front property line or the back?
It's a through lot.
Oh,
So Exhibit 3 is probably the most helpful.
I'm
And
looking,
you can see the substandard nature of what Wisconsin Court is. It's unlikely it would ever be opened and improved because it is probably only about it's a variable right of way, but maybe only 15 feet. Oh, sorry, you're right, it's 2, not 3.
Do people actually use it though?
I was there today, not Bruce Street, but you cannot actually cross on.
What about from the other end? So I see you can't pass through from, I don't even know, what is that? Yeah, from the west, but what about from the east?
so exhibit 5 is the rear of the building, and exhibit 6 is the side. That's your property. That's to the north.
The
All right.
opposite side.
I just, jumps out at me, Mr. Sullivan and I were both in the district attorney's office, and we call this an admission. You have barbed wire. Did you get a variance? Did your client get a variance to have barbed wire in exhibit 5 and 6? Then it's illegal. Okay.
That's where the new fence is going? Fence with the barbed wire? You're gonna put another fence up? PVC fence?
Exhibit 6, I don't know the street that it's on. I made it to 6 so far. So if you look at the first page of Exhibit 6, that's where we see a parking lot. It looks like some Entenmann trucks. Okay, what is, I may have missed it, Spence Street, is that a through street?
Yes.
And what's on the, I just want to see what's on the other side.
Is that the bimbo plan?
Yes.
Yes, Bimbo is, yes.
Okay, oh, yeah.
I just relish the opportunity to use the word bimbo.
No, no, exactly, you're not getting in trouble for it.
Right.
Couldn't say anything.
Why do you need a 6-foot fence and why not a 4-foot fence? Why? No, I mean, we see a fair amount of, I get it. It's easier to jump a 4-foot than a 6-foot fence, but no barbed wire. Okay.
Any more questions from the board? No, planning, do you have any comments? No, is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? I'll take a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted.
Good
I
luck.
would just ask town attorney's office to make sure that when this is drafted, it's clear up front why it's being submitted. Thank you.
And no
Just for-
barbed wire.
Yeah, oh, right,
Yes.
right. Just so for, so this doesn't come back.
Application number 515-23, DiMartino Sunrise Realty LLC. Permission to leave freezer having side yard of 3.5 feet, air conditioning condensers having side yard of 0.5 feet, and generator having side yard of 4.3 feet instead of required 10 feet each, and to relax buffer requirement, with condenser having front yard of 20.6 feet and generator having front yard of 20.4 feet instead of arterial highway setback of 60 feet each, and to exceed site lighting specifications at the front and side property lines. Business 1 District, south side of Sunrise Highway Service Road, 701.29 feet east of Johnson Avenue, Sayville.
In their existing locations, proving the spillover that is still. They're looking to take on their side improvements.
Mr. Morrow, the buffer is, as it exists, is by code is 60 feet.
Right, that would put it right in
But, okay, here's my,
That's the buffer
Yes.
requirement would have been 25 feet
right.
adjacent to residential. The building was built long before the residential was present to the east. The arterial highway setback is what you're reading as 60 feet.
Right.
That's the setback from the Sunrise Highway Service Road.
And where, maybe somebody can point it out to me, our pointers don't work. Oh, that does, look at that. Yeah, so where, could somebody point out where, I wasn't on the right property?
That one right there.
Okay,
Yeah.
and where is the arterial 60-foot setback?
Right north, right ahead of the top of it.
Remember back in the mid-90s, it was a widening project.
Yes.
Where a lot of the front roads were chopped down.
Yep.
The variance was granted on the side.
See, that's a not self-imposed when they widen the highway. But also, though, you don't get the credit for it because they paid you for it, so you don't get it both. You don't get paid when they condemn it and then say, I'm being hurt. So theoretically, they were paid. But so the 60-foot really doesn't have, the 60-foot is where the existing building is. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because the building and the industrial area predated the residential area? I got you. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Planning, do you have any comments on?
You're making the lighting issue better.
Yes.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this application? All right, then we'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the application. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application is granted. Excuse me.
Application number 516-23, CDW Relaxation Plus LLC. Permission to erect two-story dwelling on lot having area of 6,000 square feet instead of required 80,000 square feet, leaving front yard of 21 feet instead of required 25 feet. Decking having side yards of 6 feet and 11 feet instead of required 15 feet each. All having floor area ratio of 37.23% instead of permitted 30%. Residence BAA District, west side of Seabay Walk, 63.83 feet north of Maple Court, Kismet.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Why is there a minimum lot requirement of 80,000 square feet in Kismet?
Yes.
Well,
I tried to buy off Kismet. And
Yeah.
they wouldn't apply it.
Look at the aerial and look what's to the west. That's wetlands owned by owned by the federal government. You can actually see the water. So the property has a flag line that is, I guess, roughly 40% of the rear of the property, a DEC established wetlands flag line.
But I guess why don't you make your application then?
I have the same question too.
Yeah,
My application has nothing to do with the pool. I heard about how good it is to be body. I was thinking about maybe putting the pool.
Yeah.
You need 20.
Are you a swimmer? Are you a professional swimmer? Yeah, okay, I guess.
It's not when
I-
Michael Ivey, 122 Wixon Avenue, Bay Shore,
Yeah,
New
we're-
York, on behalf of Periscope, here on behalf of CDW Relaxation. We're looking to erect the family house just for vacation use, with 37.2% FAR. I have documents there, and I could, if you want me to go right into it. The reason for such an overage of the FAR, our house square foot is only 1,487 square feet. Just at an FAR of 1.7. Because we're in a flood zone elevation of 8 feet, all of our decks, even the right-of-ways have to be counted, because then you count isolate, if you build a house 6 feet or less, those walk-arounds do not count, which is roughly 282 square foot of the FAR, which would bring us down to 32%. Also, if they were counted as right-of-ways, the 15 feet would be good on one side, the other side would be at 11 feet, and would only get 4-foot variance on one side. The house conforms to every other house. We're not looking to build something non-conforming or ostentatious or something that doesn't fit. On top of this, is a project's been going on for 2.5 years. Like you said, the DEC took half of the land away because in 1996 there was a fire on this land. And the house was, they demolished, right? They did demolish the house and then never kept the property up, which let the wetlands take over the property. So that's why the house is situated where it is, and it really has to be what it is.
Well, wait, so you're saying is that the National Seashore condemned the property for the wetlands?
Not the National Seashore, it's the DEC.
Okay, so
So while I still own that whole parcel of land,
But they can't condemn. They, I
He
mean,
says they took it, but they flagged
they
it.
didn't take it.
They flag- oh, they flagged
They didn't take it, they let him keep it, rendered it useless.
but they flagged, well,
So his problem, but he can't do anything.
So the DEC flag line is on your plan. It goes like that.
right.
I guesstimated 40%, but maybe closer to 50.
But when they did that, when did the DEC flag it?
The DEC has to flag,
When?
well, they flagged it roughly 2 years ago.
And what was there 2 years ago? Was it,
Nothing. This has been an empty lot since 1996.
so they flagged an empty lot, so,
Well, they flagged it on my application. DEC can only flag every 5 years. After 5 years, they can't use it again. They went back and used the same flag line that they used 15 years ago. I'm happy with the flag line. We fit a house onto the land that, like we said.
but you're not happy with it because on paper, you required in 80,000 square feet and only have 6,000. So you're not happy with it.
Well, again, that's something that I don't know where and she tried to explain that.
Who's
I don't know where
she?
the 80,000
I'm sorry, who's she?
Is Zafi and me, I guess. I'm waiting for somebody else to help out, but yes.
Oh,
I don't want to
she.
be the affiant for the applicant, but
Yes.
it's
Oh,
me.
you.
I believe he's referring to me, yes.
Oh, she, that's okay.
Yes.
We call her Mary. You can call her Mary. Okay. You didn't know her name, that's okay. She doesn't have a nameplate.
Someday.
Someday, when she hits the big time.
I don't think she's worked here long enough to have a nameplate.
Right.
But I dream big about it every day.
Dream big.
Yeah.
Well, you're a secretary. What can I
Where are you at with the DEC as far as building on
I
this
have
property?
DEC
They
permit.
approved, they approved
I have
it?
health department permit. I have wetlands, as said, we're good. This is, my building permit is my last piece.
So I'm just a little confused. I understand that the DEC flagged between 40 and 50% of the lot as whatever. They've approved the permit. Where does the 80,000 come from?
That's our requirement, Wetlands Management Overlay District.
Oh.
So it used to be 40,000, and I'm not sure what year, maybe in '06, it went from 40,000 up to 80,000.
How big is Kismet?
80,000 square feet.
I think there's about 250 houses.
Okay. So like 10 acres, 20 acres. And they
Well,
say,
yeah, we.
and these people need 2
they-
acres to build.
Kismet has 2 patches of, of that federally owned land on either side of Seabay Walk. The other one, I guess you could say, is in Salt Air.
Mary, can you help?
There's actually one.
Hang on,
south of
hang
that
on.
also.
Okay.
Yes, of course, it goes between the bay and the ocean. Yeah.
Mary, can you help me understand? Because I really don't. I really don't. The DEC flags wetlands, which we want them to do because we want to preserve wetlands. It's good to have wetlands. So what does that mean for the property owner? You can't build?
You can't build within that flag line or within the related buffer.
Right, I have a 5-foot buffer, which is as close as I am allowed to get to the DEC wetlands. Now, in 5 years. I
Well, let's
could
not
add-
worry about, let's worry about the here and now. Well,
Okay.
unless you want to just come back in 5 years and then, yeah, I
absolutely
don't
not.
think so. So what does that mean?
So
Maybe Deidre can help. What does
Yeah,
that mean
planning.
when it says 80,000, we want to build on 6?
the idea is to not allow people to build within the buffer area that's supposed to be keeping the wetlands from being destroyed or
Right.
polluted or anything
Oh,
like
like
that.
every other house on the block?
So the DEC delineated where the wetlands area is, and technically you're not supposed to build within 100 feet of that flag line. But it's all over there. So we created an overlay district where if you're going to build within the buffer, you have to have 80,000 square feet, and you're supposed to build like a smaller percentage of the 80,000. Like it's trying to mitigate building within a buffer area that you're really not supposed to.
Can I ask you a question? I'm really trying to balance it. We get it. The DEC in the town wants to preserve wetlands. It's important. And I mean that seriously. Somebody has a home and they can say theoretically, well, every other house is right on there. But then doesn't the state, the town, at least want to try to mitigate it, stop it at some point? Otherwise, just throw caution to the wind and you'll have nothing. So they by saying everybody else has it, they're trying to stop it somewhere.
Yes. They are trying to stop it somewhere, but
That's my question too.
in this case, it's also, it's in between houses, it's.
So you're
I
saying
don't
it
know-
doesn't matter?
I don't know how much, not that it doesn't matter, but I don't know how much this specific case would actually impact the
My question.
wetlands that are
Right.
there.
If we
because
grant
I don't know-
6,000 over 80,000, set that precedent there, how is that going to affect any other building around that neighborhood?
They're already built, that's the thing.
There's
All of
nothing
them
else
are
to be
already
built,
built,
there's
all of them
nothing-
that maybe they weren't caught, and that's how
So
they're.
they're not
being
going to
built.
start
It's-
backing up and then a wetland stop and start building condos back there. They can't do that.
Right,
Based on this
that-
precedent.
Probably not.
Is this the last piece of property that's in that situation?
I think at least.
This is the last piece of property.
I was going to ask Mary, because she knows Kismet pretty well. She's been there. I know further east.
Mary doesn't want anything built there.
Yeah, right.
Wait, but the DEC has already said yes.
Yeah.
Fins has said yes and hasn't made any of their toothless threats.
Right.
Vince actually is against it.
I thought they said they don't object and it's not subject to conservation
Oh.
authority.
I received a letter yesterday.
Oh,
It
that-
wasn't
maybe
signed
I
by
read- I misread it.
So,
Says to object? No.
Based on the available information to Seashore staff, these wetlands appear to have expanded over the recent decades and are likely to continue expanding into the subject property. To protect the seashore's natural resources, including wetlands and water quality, development on this currently vacant property should be limited to what is allowed within the Town of Islip Code, and no variance should be authorized.
okay, because mine was just a phone call conversation with someone from Fins, and they were
Right.
saying that they were against it.
Yeah.
So it says
I never got a sign.
object, yes or no. It says no. If
Object or
objection
no.
status is yes,
Yeah.
property will subject to the condemnation, blah, blah, blah.
Can I ask a question, Deidre? And you can chime in. If we grant this, will it hurt the wetlands?
It shouldn't, because it would be going through all the processes to not hurt any of the surrounding area. It goes through all the cesspool requirements and flooding requirements, it's built to certain standards. A lot of the standards it has to be built to anyways, it's preventing it not from polluting or damaging the surrounding area.
Not only that, we're forced to mitigate these.
Can you just like identify yourself for the record?
Are you a professional swimmer? Okay. All right.
He's a lifeguard. Michael Haynes, 8 Sport, Islip, New York, 11751. We're forced to mitigate the existing cesspool and remove it. Not only that, but provide natural plantings that are indigenous to the area, which in return will be enhancing the area. I'm also a certified residential appraiser, does quite a bit of work at the beach. And the house is absolutely conforming, it's in the middle of the road. It would have been erected sooner, there was a gentleman who owned it, who owned a bunch of houses, and he really didn't put much effort into it, getting to the point we've been. It's going on 2.5, almost
My
3
only
years.
concern is that it doesn't further erode or hurt the wetlands. If Deidre and our other professional staff do not believe it will further erode or hurt the wetlands, I'm okay with it.
And DEC reached the same point that you're saying right now,
And DEC said what?
that they were okay and approved us to move forward with the plans.
And that's not an easy hurdle. I get it.
They've been on top of that.
Yeah, okay. All right.
This was not a long, this is.
Especially considering they're the ones who created the Sparkmeyer.
Yep. All right.
No corners were cut, this was very.
Now, you don't look like corner cut. Well, let me look a little bit. No, you-
Could be cut as maybe. This is 2 families that have been renting out there for years. I owned the business in Ocean Bay Park for 15 years.
What'd you own?
The schooner in, I
Oh, of
owned the
course.
pizza hall that was
Oh.
connected to it. I'm a first responder, EMT, and volunteer on an ambulance.
Do you live over at, do you live over
Well,
at
I
the,
did when I worked there. I live in Islip. I volunteer in Central Islip.
you still own
My
this,
son's sorry?
you still own the schooner?
The gentleman who owns the schooner right now is somebody I hired when he was 14 years old. His name is Paul Moore. He married the 2 brothers that owned it. So my daughter works for him now.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard on this application? No? Okay. Any other questions from the board?
No, I'm good.
Planning, anything else?
No, for everything else is precedent.
I'll make a motion to grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Application's granted. Thank you.
I'm gonna give you a second also.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
If we denied it, would you have said awesome?
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Those people in the back here.
Hey, look.
Live stream. They wouldn't have heard us. Yeah, we get to drive home with the headlights, without headlights. Okay,
All right, we're off.
we have,
Oh,
no,
no,
we're
I'm
not off
sorry.
yet. We're not off yet. We have 12 accessory apartments to renew for a period of 3 years.
Motion to grant the application. Second.
All in favor?
Thank you. That's a wrap.
Okay.